Hi, everybody. This is Virginia Milner coming to you for the DeKalb County Library System. And we have another program for you today. I am having so much fun with, if you watch any television, The Gilded Age. It's so neat. I really enjoyed Downton Abbey, and they keep saying it's the American Downton Abbey. It really isn't, but it's still a lot of fun. I love all the period pieces and the period jewelry and the period clothes. Wouldn't want to wear a corset, but whatever. I really love to see the jewelry. So we did something a few weeks back for Valentine's Day that had some little swoopy chains. It's called Festooning. And so I wanted to do that again today with something a little bit more bohemian, I guess, just some very, not anything planned or really looking like it's patterned. So we're going to do another one of those really organic pieces where we use a lot of different beads that don't have any connection to each other. We're just taking different beads. We're going to make a chain connected to the beads, chain in between each one of the beads, make a nice long necklace, and do some festooning at the bottom. And I think it's going to be really neat because if you don't have a clasp on it, you can turn it any way you want. Even with the festooning, if you want to put that in the back and just have the beads hanging down the front, you can do that. Well, anyway, it's probably not making a whole lot of sense until you see what we're going to do. So let's get down here to the other camera after I tell you that you just need your regular tools, round nose, square or chain nose pliers, and cutters. Any kind of cutters. They can be these or these. I just happen to pick those up. And a ruler. You'll need some chain. I'm using 3 different colors of chain. What happened? I'm using 3 different colors of chain. I'm going to use silver and copper. Stop it. And bronze. Keeps unraveling, sorry. So I'm using 3 different colors of chain, and I'm going to do 3 nice swoops at the bottom of our nice long necklace. No clasp required. Going to be really neat. I'm also using wire. Artistic or craft wire is fine. 20 gauge, 22 gauge, whichever, depending on the size of your chain that you have to string your wire through will determine, and the size of your beads. My beads are not going to be too heavy, so you can use anything from 22 to 20 gauge wire in order to wrap them. So let's get going. I'm basically going to show you how to wrap the beads, attach them to the chain, and then do the festooning. This is going to be a quick, easy, simple project that you can make many times in many different ways with all kinds of beads, and they never look the same. And you can wear them all together. You can wear several at the same time. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's go ahead and get started so you can see what, oh, for crying out. Wow, I can't believe I did that again. It's so humiliating. Okay, anyway, I'm back. Let's get to work so that you can see what I'm talking about. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do is take our wire and wrap some beads for starters. So I'm going to start with this little guy right here, and I'm going to show you how to wrap it. Now, the easiest way to determine if you're not just using off a whole spool of wire, excuse me, the easiest way to determine how much wire you need is to slide the bead on. And I like to give myself at least a good inch on either side of my wire in order to make my loop and to do my wrapping. So I've already got some little pieces of wire here that I had left over from something else, but just as a way to measure, put your bead on. Give yourself a good inch to an inch and a half on each side in order to do your loops and your wraps, depending on how many wraps you want to do. But an inch is a good measurement, inch and a quarter, maybe an inch and a half, if you don't want to have to cut off too much wire. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is put my bead on. We'll just pretend like this is an inch. It's more because this is a scrap piece of wire. And I'm going to bend my wire back on one side, and I'm going to bend it in the opposite direction on the other side. And I'm just giving myself a nice sharp bend. So now this is what I have on each side of my wire. So now I'm going to make my loop. I'm going to grab my round nose pliers. I'm going to slide the wire down. I don't need too big a loop. So I'm just going to go about a third of the way down my pliers, and I'm going to bring the tail of my wire over the pliers and around and underneath and stop there. Why am I stopping? Because I want to connect this to a piece of chain. Okay, so what I'm going to do is only go part of the way around and not wrap it yet, so I can attach it to my chain. So now I'm going to go to the other side, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make my nice open loop. So I'm going to slide my pliers down, again about a third of the way down my the wire, about a third of the way down my pliers. I don't know why I have a frog in my throat. It keeps happening to me every time I get on camera. Maybe I'm nervous. That's kind of weird, considering how often I've done this. Kind of strange. Anyway, slide my wire down a third of the way down my pliers, bring the tail over the top of my pliers. Now I'm going to turn my pliers so that it's flat on top and the wire's hanging down the side, and I'm going to bring the wire underneath my pliers. So now I have an open loop on each side. My bead keeps rolling around, but I have a nice open loop on each side. Bring this down a little bit so you can see a little bit better. And now I need to attach my chain, but I want to figure out how much chain I want. So I want, since I want this to go over my head, I'm going to want my chain to be at least, well, I've already checked my head. I'm going to want my chain to be at least 26 inches long. That way I can just put it over my head and put it over my head and take it off very easily without a clasp, which is what our objective is today, not to have to make a clasp. So I need to decide how many beads I want to use and how much wire and how much chain I want to use in between. So I've already determined that I want each, well, let me show you so you get an idea of what I'm talking about. So here's the starts of my chain. So I want to know how much chain to put in between each of my beads. And see, they're all different. And so I went with about 3/4 of an inch of chain in between each of my beads. And I have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I have 15 beads. I had more than that, but I decided it was going to be too long. So I have 15 beads here, and then I have chain in between each of the beads. So that's 3/4 of an inch. Oh, shoot, I should have done the math on a piece of paper, but I didn't. So about 3/4 of an inch in between each bead. So that's 1 1/2. That's 3, 6, I'm counting, 9, 12. So that's 12 inches approximately for the wire or for the chain. If I use 3/4 of an inch in between each of my beads. And then the beads themselves are all different sizes. So you have to figure that in as well. My average on my beads with my links attached is about an inch. So I've got 12 inches worth of chain and about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. I've got 2 more beads that I'm doing. So 27 inches. What did I say I wanted? About 26. And then the festooning is going to add to that. So we're going to end up with about 30 inches or so, maybe 32. That is plenty. So let me just double check. Let's check my beads. This one is about 3/4. This with the loops attached. This one is about an inch and an eighth. And that's about how it works out on each of them. This one with the loops is about 7/8 of an inch. So I'm going to say the beads average about 3/4 to 7/8 of an inch. You add that 12 inches with the 12 inches that I have on the chain that I told you that we were using. That's 24 inches. My festooning is going to add another 6 inches or so. So that's going to give me 30 inches, which is perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So now I don't have to strain to get it over my head. All right, so I need about 3/4 of an inch of chain in between each of my beads. You can do this a couple of ways. You can either measure out 3/4 of an inch of chain for each piece, or you can count your links. And that's what I did. I just counted my links so that every time I cut a piece of chain, I just cut that many links. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For me, it was 12 links. And it depends on the size of your chain as to how many links you want. It depends on the size of your chain loops, the little links that are in between, how long they are. And it also depends on how much chain you want to use. If you want slightly longer spaces in between your beads, then you'll use more chain. If you want less space in between your beads, you'll use less chain. Makes perfect sense, right? Okay, I'm going with approximately 3/4 of an inch or 12 links of chain on for each of my beads. So I've made my loop on each side. I've made a nice open loop. And so now I need to slide my chain on. Now you see why I didn't finish wrapping it. So I'm going to put my chain on. The very last link is going to go over my wire and down into my loop, like so. Just slides right in there. And now it's time for me to close up my loop. So you can either use round nose or flat or your square pliers. If you use your round nose, I would suggest that you go as far back as you can in order to grip your loop, because if you use the tip, you run the risk of putting a little dent in your loop, and you don't want that. So go as far back as you can to as a piece of your pliers as you can, and then you're going to take the tail of your wire and start wrapping. Okay, so, and it depends on how many wraps you want. This is very organic, so you can decide. I have a very long piece of wire on here, and I hate to waste wire, so I'm just going to wrap several times. And I'm also going to wrap enough so that when I finish, I have a nice little cap on top. see that. See that little cap on, silver cap on top? Isn't that neat? See if I can get this thing to focus. So now I have a nice little cap on top of my bead, and I'm going to cut off my wire. Now here's the little tricks that I learned. Ooh, I'm getting a glare. Let's turn that down a little bit. If I bend my wire a little bit, I'm just going to put a little bend in it so that it's kind of going in the direction that I want it to go, so that when I need a little more light. Let's see if that works. Okay, so now when I cut it off, it's not sticking straight out. If it's sticking straight out, it's kind of hard to push it back into the other wire. It's hard to get it to conform. So now I have it kind of looped around a little bit so that when I clip it off as close as I can get, it's not sticking straight out away from the bead. I can just push it down nice and close, just like that. And it's still not focusing the way I want it to. It's driving me nuts. Can you see that? My goodness. That's why it's doing that. Focus, please. Sorry, everybody. He doesn't want to cooperate with me today. And I don't know why. I think that's a little better. Okay. Somebody told me I don't have enough light when that happens. Okay, I think that's a little bit better. A little tiny bit. Okay, let's go to the other side. And this needs to be attached to a chain. So now I want to attach that to the rest of my chain that's already done. So I'm going to slide that piece of wire into the last link of my chain, like so. Let it slide down until it drops into my loop, like that. It's time to do my rat. Get over there. Again, I'm going to use the large part of my round nose pliers, or I can use my chain nose pliers, whichever works better for you. Let the chain drop out of the way so that it doesn't block my wrap. And then I'm going to wrap that tail around the wire, around the stem of the wire, just like I did on the other side. I gave myself 3 wraps last time. I'm going to do the same thing this time. Make a little cap on top. Like so. Take my pliers and put a little bit of a curve in my wires so that when I cut it, if it's sticking straight out like this and you cut it off, it's kind of hard to push it in. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it and show you what I mean. So I'm going to hold on to the tail so it doesn't fly across the rim. Cut that off. I need to push this little end down so that it doesn't catch on anything. But because it's sticking straight out, it's kind of hard to get it to curve around the way I need it to. So I'm going to take my pliers, just the little tip here. I'm going to put a little curve in it. It's going to bend it. It's going to curve it around so it's going in the same direction as my wraps. If I can grab it, grab with these. I'm just going to grab that tip, put a little bend in it. See how I just curved it around? And now I can push it down against the other wires. See, nice, neat, and tidy. There we go. And now I've got one more bead that I want to wrap. That's going to go on the end. So I'm going to grab another piece of spare wire that I have. Slide that on. Wow, that's a big piece. Bend back one end, one direction. Bend back the other end, the other direction. I'm going to clip this off. I don't need this much. So I still have a nice long piece of wire that I can use for something else. Yay. Clip that off. I have my round nose pliers. Slide my wire down about 1/3 of the way down my pliers. And let's make a loop. We're not going to close it up yet because we're going to attach it to the chain. Let's get a little closer. And let's slide this chain on. Right down there in my loop. I'm going to make that bend a little closer to my bead. There we go. And let's wrap. One thing I'm noticing here, this is a little further away from my bead than I want it to be. So let's just push that up a little bit. So it's right against my bead because I want to make another little cat. Okay, let's wrap that around. You can determine how many wraps you want. I want a little tiny little silver cap on top. So I want to use up all my wire so I don't have to cut any off and waste any. See my little cap on top there? Isn't that cute? Okay, do my little bend in the tip. Nice little bend. And I'm going to push that little tip down. So that it's resting against the rest of the wrap. Okay. Still sticking up a tiny bit. Push that down. So I don't have to worry about it scratching my neck or snagging my clothes, which is a no-no. Thank you very much. There we go. Get down there. There. I always do the finger test. If I don't scratch my finger, then I know I'm good. Now this last one, this is going to be on the end like this. So I'm going to have a little loop there because that, getting a lot of glare, because that's what's attaching my chain that I'm using to make my festoon. Sorry about the glare. It was a cloudy day. I don't have any natural light, so I'm surrounded by lights, and I'm hoping that you can see what I'm doing because there are lights everywhere. I have lamps, I have overhead lights. It's a good thing that it's a chilly day or I'd be sweating buckets. Excuse me, I would be glaring. Okay, again, we're going to slide the wire down about a third of the way down my pliers and make the loop. Bring my wire across and down the side of my bead. Turn my pliers until they're horizontal and my bead is vertical. And I'm going to bring my wire under my pliers. And I can go ahead and wrap this because I don't need to. No, I can't. I have to attach it to my festoon chain. So I have a nice open loop. And that's where we stop for the moment. Because this, I got my little bead board. See, these are beads I didn't get to use because it would have made it too long. If you have a bead board, this is really good for designing. If you're doing a design. Okay, so this is the way my little necklace is going to look. This lays right in the little tracks, which is very convenient. Here we go. Then my chains are going to come down like this. They're going to come down like that. And I'm going to have 3 of them. I'm going to have 3 chains. They're going to be all different colors. Let's see if I can pull this over here so you can kind of get an idea of the look that I'm going for here. So there's going to be 1 here. And 1 here. And then a 3rd one. I know it's weird right now, but that's kind of what I'm trying to do. Right like that. Anyway, it'll look prettier when we finish. So we're going to have our little swoop. This is going to hang down the front like that. And then we're going to have triple strand. But what I decided to do was go with 3 colors of metal. So I'm going to have copper, silver to go with the rest of the chain, and bronze. So I think I'm going to put the silver one in the center. And the copper one's going to be the short one. And I decided I was going to go with 6 inches for the actual extension from the necklace, because that'll give me my 30 inches that I need for the drop of my necklace. It's going to be about a 15-inch drop all the way around, starting from the back of the necklace. So what I'm going to do is my first little swoop is going to be 6 inches, and I'm going to have a little bit of a dangle on each side, like that. Kind of hard to see what I'm trying to do until it's done, but let's go ahead and measure out my 6 inches. And then I'm going to give myself 1.5 inches dangle on each side. So I need 9 inches of chain. And this is just how I want my little swoop to go. If you want yours longer, go for it. But I'm giving myself 9 inches. Cut that off. Oops. There we go. So my first swoop, 9 inches. My second swoop is going to be 10 inches because there's going to be 1 inch in between each one. So my second swoop is going to be 10 inches. And that's the silver one. Measure you out. And my third one is going to be the bronze. That's going to be 11 inches. Yes. That off. Oops. Come on. Okay. So now I've got my little swoopy things, and I think I can kind of show you what I'm after here. So it's going to look sort of like this. Sort of like a swag, and that's what it is. It's like a swag. Those swags that you have on curtains, it's going to be like that. Get my chains to cooperate. You get radio silence while I'm putting this together. Isn't that fun? That's just always so much fun to just sit here and listen to nothing while I'm putting the components together. Okay, and then the third one is going to be this one. So that gives you an idea, kind of an idea of what I'm going for here. Like that. Ta-da! Yeah, that's it. Yay! Okay. Okay. Now it's time to put all of this together. So now maybe you did not notice that I already have this one closed. That's not going to work. I have to open it. And that means I'm going to have to rewrap this one. Yay. Isn't that just lovely? That's all right. That gives you an opportunity to see me wrap another bead. That's always so much fun when I have to do something over. No problem. Let's just do that. I could add another bead on there instead of rewrapping, couldn't I? Just make it a little longer. I don't want it longer. And I like this little bead. I want it on the end. So I'm going to take it apart and rewrap it just for you. Isn't that so much fun? Somebody said, I just love it when you make mistakes because it makes me feel better. Okay, if you say so. It doesn't make me feel better. It makes me feel stupid. Okay, that other little piece of wire I had is not long enough for this. So I have to cut another piece. So again, what I was telling you, slide your bead on so you get an idea of what you need. I'm going to slide my bead on. Boy, there's a lot of glare. Slide my bead on, and I'm going to bend back my wire just like I did before. So I've got a nice bend in my wire. And I'm going to go to the other side, and I'm going to bend it in the other direction, like so. So it gives me a little zigzag. And then I'm going to clip off the end. And let's do our wrap. So I'm going to grab around those pliers, slide my wire down about a third of the way down my pliers, and just do a nice simple open loop for starters. Then I'm going to go to the other side and do the same thing. Down a third of the way down my pliers, give myself a nice open loop. And let's attach. Which way do I want it to go? Does it matter? Not really. So I'm going to slide my chain, the last link, onto my wire and down into the loop and wrap this one. Wrap this side. Just wrap that tail around 2 times, 3 times, depending on what the look that you're going for. If you're wondering what the minimum is, I would say 2 times is a good minimum to make sure that your wraps are secure. 3 or more times just makes it a little more decorative. So now I have a little cap there on top. Give it a little curve as I come around. And then push that tail down against the other wraps. Nice and neat. There. You're nice and close. Yes, no scratching. Okay, so now I am ready to do my festooning. Now, I'm going to attach my chain. I could leave this open. I left this open because if it depends on what you're going to use. If you're attaching it directly to your chains, you want to leave this open. But I am going to use jump rings. So I don't need to leave this open. I can go ahead and close it up, which means I didn't have to rewrap that bead. Virginia, whatever. So anyway, let's go ahead and close this up because my jump ring's open and they can slide on there without any problems at all. So let me go ahead and wrap my bead, wrap my loop over the top of my bead. And again, I'm going to make a little cap on top just because I have plenty of wire and because I can, and because I wanna. Ooh, isn't that cute? The little, nice little swirl on top. So cute. Okay. Nice and neat. Here we go. Yeah. So now I'm going to cut this tail off. I don't really need any more of a wrap on there. So I'm going to pull it out a little bit at the curve. I'm going to give it a little bit more of a curve there, so it'll be easier to push down. Clip that off right at that little curve. Hold on to that tail, clip it off, and tuck that in down against the other wraps. Nice. Nice, neat, and tidy. And let's do the other one, same thing. Just wrap that around. It's a cute little cap on top there. Let's clip that off right there at that curve. And bring it away a little bit so I can clip it right there where it's curving around. And push that end against the other wraps. Nice. Now let's attach our chins. First thing we're going to do is open our jump rings. Proper jump ring opening and closing. I like to move all this stuff out of the way so it isn't confusing. Okay, proper jump ring etiquette. Take your pliers. Here's my opening. Here's the opening of my jump ring. Right over here. I think that's better. So here's the opening of my jump ring right here. So I'm going to put the pliers on one side of the opening. I'm going to put my thumb on the other side of the opening, and I'm going to push down. And it's nicely opened up. See that? Neat. Neat, huh? The other way you can do it is to put your pliers on one side of the opening, grab your second set of pliers on the other side, and twist. And now it's nicely open, just like the other one. Okay, so let's attach. Get this out of the way. Let's attach these to the end. Get all these little bits and pieces out of the way. This is what I'm going to have. And we're finished. Go ahead and put it on here so you can get a clue of where we're going to be when all is said and done. It's going to look like that with a little dangle down the sides. Neat, huh? Okay, let's do it. So now we want to attach our chains. I want to give myself about 1.5 inches of a dangle on each side for each of my chains. And my middle chain is going to be the silver, the coppers first, and the antique bronze is going to be the lowest one. So antique bronze goes on first because it's going to be on the bottom. I need 1.5 inches away from the tip for my dangle. So I'm going to give myself 1.5 inches of chain. I'm going to grab a link right at the 1.5 inch mark. Here's my 1.5 inches. See if I can just grab that. Yep. Might be a little bit of a challenge. So what I'm going to do, 1.5 inches, grab my chain and slide it. Come on, don't do this to me. I could just use my fingers, but then you can't see what I'm doing. Okay, chain number 1. My middle chain is going to be the silver. Again, 1.5 inches. You can either measure it or you can just count your links, whichever works better. Here's my 1.5 inches. Slide my chain on right there at that 1.5 inch link. Come on, get in there. Oh. Come on. It's so embarrassing. Okay, I'm using my fingers. I hope you can see what I'm doing because working with the pliers is not helping me. Okay, so let's slide that on there. My goodness. And the third one is the copper. Again, 1.5 inches from the tip. Here we go. Slide it in that little link. Can you see what I'm doing with my fingers in the way? I hope so. Now I'm going to take a little look. These don't have to be perfectly even, simply because when you put them on, they're going to be staggered. But I do think I want the copper one to be a little bit lower. So I'm going to take it over a notch. Move it over to the next link. And let's see. That's better. But I think I'm going to move it over one more. Do I want to? Yeah, one more. One more little link. And it depends on the look that you're going for as to how you do this. So there I've got my 3 little dangles on the side, all ready to go. And I'm going to attach it to my last bead and close it up. Close up my jump ring. Let's get over here where you can see me. Close my jump ring. And there's the one side, all ready to go. Trying to line it up so you can see. Okay, so now I want to attach it to the other side. And if you recall, the longest one is going to be the bottom, the middle one is going to be the next longest, and then the shortest one is going to be on top. So my shortest one is the copper, the middle one is the silver, and the longest one is the antique bronze. Now I'm looking at this and the antique bronze looks really long, but that's okay. It's probably only about a length longer. I think I'm going to snip off one little link. Nah, I'm going to leave it the way it is. Just depends on how I want my swoop to look, and I think it'll be just fine. So now I want to measure 1.5 inches from each of my other side, starting with my longest one, which again is my antique bronze. So I'm going to grab my other jump ring, measure 1.5 inches from the edge of my antique bronze chain or my bottom chain, whatever color you decide to make it. Slide on my jump ring into that bead. I mean, into that link. This has just been a challenge tonight. Okay. 1.5 inches. Get in there. There. Yay. Now let me check. It looks a little long. Make sure it's 1.5 inches. It's a little longer than 1.5 inches. I'm going to move it over 2 links. That's better. And then I'm going to go to my silver one, 1.5 inches. Okay, slide that on. It's a little longer. Slide it over 1 link. Much better. And last but not least, my copper. 1.5 inches. And again, these are my measurements. You can make it longer or shorter, depending on the look you are going for. Okay, there's my 3 little dangles down there. And I am ready to attach it to my chain. So I'm just going to slide it onto my last bead and close it. Now, I can use my pliers to close this up, or I can use my fingers. at least to get it started so that I know it won't fall off when I'm trying to get my pliers over there. Now I can just close that completely up. Nice, neat, and tidy. And if I need to, I can use 2 pairs of pliers and just close it nice and neat. Now, make sure my chains are hanging the way they should hang. Go over there. That goes in the middle. Little dangles down the side. Get these all untwisted. Oh, this is fun. Come on. You know you want to work with me here. Oh, my goodness. Flip, 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 flip over there. This one needs to go over this way. And I think we've got that side. What's happening? There. Let's see what's going on this side. There we go. And I know this camera is not high enough for you to see the whole thing. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on the display, but you can get an idea what I'm trying to go for here. Let's see if I can get it where you can see it. Kind of, sort of. I'm going to put it on the display so you can see what I'm trying to do. Okay, let's put it on there. Let's get my little display out. And let's move this back up. And I'm going to put it on the big screen so that you can see the finished product. There it is. There's our festoon necklace. That's neat. I think it's perfect for spring. It goes right over my head. I should have put it on. It doesn't go with what I'm wearing. It goes right over my head and drapes down. And there are my festoon connections at the bottom. And if you want to, you can always turn it around and just wear that down the back and just wear the beads in the front. That's why I wanted to do something that didn't have to have a clasp. So you can wear it either way you want it, either way if you want to. Isn't that neat? So easy. Wrap your beads, attach your chain, make your festoons. What's going on with that light over there? Stop it. Attach your festoons at the bottom, and that is it. We have 3 different shades of chain. I'm getting a lot of glare, so I can't really tell. But we have 3 different shades of chain on the bottom. We have a copper as the first swoop, silver as the second, and antique bronze as the third. Those of you who get kits We'll get all 3 colors of wire, and you can use any of the wire for the piece throughout to attach your beads, and enough to use any of the chains to attach the beads and make your festoon components. And then you can use the rest of the wire, because you're going to have a lot left over unless you make it like down to your knees. You can use the rest of the wire to make other pretty things. How about that? That should be fun. Anyway, this was just a nice, fun project that I had wanted to do. I've been watching all of those vintage type shows, and I saw some really pretty pieces. I started to make a shorter one, but some people said they don't like things up around their neck. So I thought this would be just a nice tie-in, just right in between, just before you get to the 1920s. And it actually kind of goes over into the flapper age too. So it's really pretty neat. I like this piece. I think you can make it so that it's, the way we did it is more boho, more bohemian, and less vintage. But the little festooning decorations kind of gives it an air of old world. Anyway, enough of that. I could go on and on and on, but this is our piece for the day. I hope you like it. I hope that you'll make it. And if you did like it, let me know. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at jewelrygen20@gmail.com. That's JEWELRYGIN20@gmail.com. And if you make one of these, please put it on the library Facebook page, or email me a picture and I'll put it on the library Facebook page, because we like to see what you do and what you make and how you did it. We love to see how your pieces come out. And everybody that gets a kit is going to get different beads. So every single one of these, the opportunities to make them all different are endless. No two will be alike or the same. So I can't wait to see what you do, and I hope you'll show it to me. So until next time, take it easy, stay safe, try to stay warm or get warm, because I think it's warming up, even though I'm all bundled up today because it is cold. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.